funny you guys were talking about the corkscrew as I came in. I think that's the movie, the part of the movie that people are gonna love the most, where you get when you're doing the two-handing the corkscrews. I think what I liked the most about the Equalizer, and I loved it, was that it was different than typical action movies where it's not just gunplay. Was that a distinct decision that you guys made to kind of make it a little bit different? You know, more hand-to-hand, more physical.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a conversation I had with Denzel. It was a conversation I had with the producers. Denzel didn't want to really handle a gun at all in the movie.
Yeah. Why use one guy's gun, his gun against him?
Yeah, but ultimately he
That's the only time I fire a gun.
Yeah, he doesn't use a gun.
Right.
I mean, I think
I didn't even fire it. He didn't even fire a gun.
No, I hit the guy in the head. Or did you cut that out?
Which one?
Up in the office. Remember, I grabbed the guy's gun, I spin around.
Yeah, but no, because he did what you said. Remember, we put him in the back, in the freezer. You took it from him, snatched it.
No, in the beginning, the first scene with the 5 guys.
Oh, you're talking about the Slavi guys?
Yeah.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yeah.
That was so much killing, though, yeah.
Yeah, but he actually...
But you used his finger.
Yeah, his finger was on the trigger.
Yeah, you didn't.
So you didn't technically shoot him, you shot himself.
He shot his own partner.
Yeah, the guy tried to pull it, he pulled it, and Denzel pulled his finger.
So physically, this must have been pretty tough for you though, right? Because you do a lot of hand-to-hand stuff.
Right.
And I don't remember seeing too much hand-to-hand stuff in kind of your other movies. Did you have to spend
Book
a lot of
Eli.
time? Yeah, definitely, yeah. Did you have to spend a lot of time though working on the choreography?
Yeah, I box. I've been boxing 20 years, so I've been fighting for a long time, hand to hand. So I'm used to that. Not this style, but I'm comfortable with that. I understand the idea of staying close and inside. It's different with boxing because this you get cross hand with this martial arts stuff. Boxing, you never do that.
Yeah.
But I don't have a problem with that. I know as long as I'm in shape, you know, and don't have to do much jumping because I got bad wheel. Then my hardest thing for me is jumping.
Sure.
Not going up, coming down.
Yeah.
But throwing my hands and all that kind of stuff, I don't have a problem with.
You guys look like you have an amazing relationship, like a cool rapport, and you guys make great films together. Being drawn to something like The Equalizer, though, what's really interesting is that if you look at it and compare it to Training Day, or even compared to Man on Fire, some of the other movies that you've done, is that McCall feels like a really compassionate character, which is, to me, seems really different from the typical kind of tortured protagonist. Was this something you guys went for, or that you maybe...
Well, he's tortured, but it's more subtle.
Yeah.
He's developed his own therapy.
Sure.
Right.
You know, the way he organizes things, he needs this organization in his life, and and he reads, and he expands his mind, and you know, it's odd. He works at Hallmark, but he's reading Ralph Ellison, and,
Right.
You know, and at 3 a.m. in a funky diner. It's just all incongruous. It's just fascinating. It's like, who is this guy? You never really find out.
Right.
He's weird. He's different, and these two lost souls meet.
Well, he seems to like people. That's the thing.
Yeah. No, he's trying. He's not even trying to do the right thing. He's just trying to be. He's trying to fit in and be a good person.
Yeah.
And you know, the fact that he's able to. He probably, if that girl was 35, let's say.
Yeah.
He probably would have had a more difficult time.
Sure.
You know, but she was impressionable, and not a threat or in any way.
And she still had hope.
So you're here with 3 movies, right? So it's kind of a busy tiff for you.
Yeah.
What do you think of something like The Equalizer, like a massive, big budget action movie, as opposed to maybe a smaller, more character-driven indie? What's your approach? How does your approach different?
You know, my approach isn't different. You know, I do the same amount of research. I work just as hard. I kind of do the same thing. I mean, I think that the only difference is you get a bit more amenities. You know what I mean? You get a bit nicer hotel room. That's about the only real difference. True. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing. I just approach all my roles the same way.
Was your chemistry with Denzel Washington really strong right from the get-go? Because I remember reading that the character was originally written a little bit older, I guess? Or?
Yeah. The character was originally written for like a 23 or 24-year-old, so they weren't even really going to audition me. And so I went in for a meeting with Antoine to kind of just talk to him. And then I auditioned for him, and I ended up auditioning with Denzel too. And then I booked it, you know, and it was a hard process. You know what I mean? I had to work really, really hard for this role. And when I met Denzel, from then on, you know, he kind of was always so nice to me and so kind, and a really personal person and really personable, and you know, he's very paternal too.
Oh, sure.
You know, he's very fatherly with me.
When you're absent from a large chunk of the movie, how do you keep it so that the audience remembers you throughout the rest of the movie? Like, what do you do to kind of make such a lasting impression? Because it's kind of you that drives the entire plot, right? And turns him into the guy that he becomes.
You know, I never try and think about, like, what am I gonna do to have the audience kind of remember me and, you know, the audience like me. I think it's more like, just do the best you can do, you know what I mean? Because you never know how anything's gonna come off. You just try and work your hardest and to really become your character and just to completely fall into your character and not really be able to have people look and go, oh, that's just Chloe doing another role. You know what I mean? I want it to be that it's really me being Alina or Terry, not just Chloe.
A lot of people, I guess, are comparing this role to Jodie Foster in Taxi Driver. I guess that's the kind of classic. Although it's a lot different. But
Yeah.
When you look at somebody like Jodie Foster, would you say that that's kind of a career that you'd like to emulate? Because it seems like you're doing a really wide variety of roles. And
yeah, I think her versatility is something that I definitely admire totally. I think that I really want versatility in my career and my life, and she's a really strong woman. You know, she's incredibly strong, and it's hard to be, you know, a woman in this industry, and I think she's done a brilliant job of it. So, yeah, I definitely admire her in a lot of ways.
Just as a straight up film fan, what's the kind of thing that you would personally be interested in? Like, what kind of movies are you drawn to?
To make or to watch?
Both, I guess.
Well, to make, I mean, honestly, I enjoy all kinds of movies. I enjoy anything that kind of gets me going, gets my artistic juices flowing, and all that type of stuff. So, I'm kind of up to anything to make, and then to watch, I'm kind of the same. You know what I mean? I'm down to watch anything. I don't really like horror movies as much. But kind of my favorite kind of movies are the more classic movies, and I think I enjoy watching classic cinema more than the new stuff. But I love watching new stuff and kind of getting the same amount of inspiration as I would from the other stuff.
Okay, so I think the thing I'm most curious to ask you about is you play a pretty mean villain named Teddy, funny enough. How do you go about making somebody like that not come off as a caricature? Because I thought what was an interesting approach was how quiet you played it. You know, not really hammy or scenery chewing. It was much more grounded, so he felt real and he felt scarier. How do you go about creating a character like that and kind of departing from the norm?
You want to get inside his head. You want to get inside how he thinks, what he thinks about as many things as possible. So try and find his primary psychology, and then articulate that physically and vocally, and then have a good time playing with it. Because if you become too scientific, then it can become what one wants to avoid, caricature, and also being allowed to do it in the hands of Antoine and everybody else that was working on the film and working opposite Denzel. Yeah, you know, like it all throws into the mix. But the psychological was the most important, and then also how does it feel? How does it sound? And to get out of the way of too many cliches. But then cliches are quite useful sometimes too, because cliches are what they are because they're truths.
Yeah.
But you don't want to make it too overwrought either, and just to come off the line of the Russian thing too, you know, a little bit, and to seat him as a human being.
The tattoos help?
Yeah. Although I didn't actually wear those for too long. You know, but it was nice to know that they were underneath. Sure. Because he was all very elegant and you know, coiffured and tied, and even down to, you know, cufflinks and everything. And I remember once seeing I'm digressing now, but I once saw at a tattoo convention. I saw a photograph of an old man with his legs crossed in an armchair, leather armchair, having a cup of tea, in the suit and tie and everything. And then the photograph next to him was he was tattooed from from head to toe, and it was like, oh, that was such a beautiful image. It's like this picture of conservatism and the picture of what some would call, you know, liberalism, radicalism, and to have the notion that all these tattoos were underneath was a little bit like Teddy himself, whereby he was presenting a very charming, a kind of charm to the world where it was appropriate, and underneath there was this festering viper's nest. So.
What was it like the first time you got to look at yourself in the mirror wearing all those tattoos after having them put on? Were you kind of taken aback a little bit?
No, it made me think maybe I should. Yeah, maybe I should go forward with the idea of getting tattoos. Yeah, I've thought about that for 100 years, but I'd end up looking like that. So it's good, but it's not so good for an actor.
One of the interesting things that I liked about your character was I felt that he was kind of engaged by McCall, that he kind of liked the game that he was playing with him because he was kind of bored, maybe.
Yeah. Very intrigued with McCall, and also took great delight in what he was doing. Was fascinated. And probably felt like, oh, he's a kind of a friend.
Well, it felt like you guys could have been friends, almost, in a different life.
Yes, yeah, and Antoine was very keen to nurture that too. So I also think that sociopaths, by definition, they genuinely feel that they're doing something good for the other person. I mean, they're from their egocentric perspective.